Welcome inside the HighSchoolOT press box. I am Joel Bryant. We're doing our 252 football preview today. Two guests with me to take us through the entire region. We have Zach Kaplan and Laieke Abebe. Guys, before we get started, tell us or tell the audience where we can find your work at and find you on social media as well. Start with Zach.
You can find me on Touchdown Friday. That's Brian Bailey's Touchdown Friday. This is I think we did it up the math, year 38, I believe. It is the longest running high school football TV show in Eastern North Carolina. So Friday nights, 11:05 on WNCT Channel 9. You can stream it as well. We're going to try to get it on YouTube and social media after it airs if you're not in Eastern North Carolina. But you can pretty much watch it anywhere from Onslow County all the way up to Bertie and Edgecombe County to the west. So we try to hit as many schools as we can in our area. I believe we'll hit 14 or 15 games for our station on Friday night for week 1.
It's pretty good. Laieke?
I run this page called Strika Lights. We're in year 8. We just started year 8. I'm sure you know by now, Joel, I go all over the place and do this, but I'm primarily based out of the 252 area code. And Strika Lights, my YouTube channel. Tell folks to go subscribe. We'll have full individual highlights from each game I'll be at this season in just about all the main sports and maybe some other stuff as well. But, Strika Lights on all social media platforms, X, Instagram, YouTube. Once again, grateful to be here with you again, Joel. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Well, grateful for both of you to do this with me. It's a big help for us.
Oh, yeah.
Before we get into the individual conferences, does either of you have any kind of big takeaways from realignment? Were there any of these conferences that really stick out to you in maybe a good or a bad way when they were finally finalized?
I think for me, it's I don't think the bigger schools are quite as affected because even the ones that got shifted, and we'll talk about some of the specific ones, but even the ones that got moved conferences are still playing each other. So I don't think that's as different. Where I think there's a huge sea change here in the 252 is with the former 2A schools that are now split up. I mean, you have some that are all the way barely in 2A, and you have some that should almost be in 5A. So there's really a difference in how those leagues are set up, the teams that they'll be playing against in a potential playoff run, and the way that they just their conferences are realigned, their non-conferences. There's some new teams coming in. Eastern Wayne is a school that I haven't seen at all in my time here, and I'm going into year 3 covering this, and now one that's going to play a big part in things. So there's a lot more Goldsboro impact that will be coming over here, and it's going to be really interesting with those schools. I think will have the biggest change.
Okay, Laieke, you have any big hot takes on realignment?
Honestly, for me, it's going to take a little while for me to get used to these new conferences. But I guess seeing defending 1A state champions over a new conference with teams that they were in previous realignments with, which makes for some interesting matchups down the stretch of the season. Also, see that Northeastern is paired with schools like Martin County, which are a bit of a drive, but all those schools on that 13-17 corridor are still kind of close together. But this is going to be a lot of fun matchups across the board that it makes for. So it should be a interesting 25 season.
Yeah, I totally agree. So we're going to start with the Bay Carolina 6A, 7A. The big change, obviously, is Havelock is no longer in this conference. Instead, I believe White Oak is in this conference. So the 6As are J.H. Rose, Jacksonville, and White Oak. And then the 7As are D.H. Conley, New Bern, and South Central. Who are we expecting to win this conference? I believe, wasn't Rose picked to win it by the coaches?
They were. I was a little surprised by that. I would have said New Bern if I had to pick, and if I had a prediction, and I guess if I'm making one on this podcast, I do think New Bern, when you look at the guys they have back, they have a pretty wild schedule. So each of the teams in this league had to add a non-conference game, Joel, because Swansboro was supposed to be in this league, appealed to the CHSAA, got put back in the Coastal. So everybody had to add a game. New Bern is going to Huff in September. I can't remember exactly which week. They start the year on Friday at New Hanover. So they're truly road warriors. They also scrimmaged at Rollsville. And they certainly believe they have the horses and the ability to, win a state title in 7A, which I know we'll talk about. Is probably one of the more loaded classes, maybe even more so than 8A. But I was a little surprised that Rose was the pick over them. That's not to say I don't think the Rampants will be good, because they will be. They had such bad luck in one-score games last year, and I know these are 15, 18-year-old kids we're talking about, but I do think you'll find some regression in those one-score games, maybe as soon as Friday when Rose opens at Northern Nash. And I do think New Bern, top to bottom, is the most complete team entering the season. Rose not too far behind them, and I like some other teams down the pecking order as well. But Strika, were you surprised at all to see that Rose won the preseason vote?
I'm gonna say, I will say I do think Rose is good enough to win the conference. Their challenge will be finding new wide receiver production after Jaden Lovett's graduation. He was a very talented receiver for them, among others. And they do return Jimmy Martin at quarterback from last year.
Year 2 under the system.
Yep, they had a fantastic playoff run after a struggle of a regular season where there was a little bit of a rift in the squad for most of those first 10 games. But they found their stride and were the team that I expected them to be in the regular season during that postseason run. I do believe that I don't think there's any way they're only going to win 2 games this year. I think they're going to win a lot of games. I would say player to watch for them probably that played JV last year and was going to be on varsity this year. Lee Carson, probably know him more as a basketball standout as well. He, I think, will have a big impact on this team right away as a sophomore. But I also really liked D.H. Conley, even though I think they were in the middle of the pack somewhere in that coach's poll. I do think they're being a little overlooked. I do think they could be a dangerous team. They're going to score a lot of points. I believe. I watched them in their scrimmage. Tarboro kind of had their way in the passing throughout the day, but I honestly think the conference always shapes up challenging. New Bern's going to obviously have their say with Marvin Magwick. So, but honestly, across the board, this conference could once again very competitive, I think.
I think for Conley, I can envision Samari Cabell taking another big step this year in his senior season at quarterback. He's a big-bodied quarterback. Last year, he completed 56% of his passes. He had a 15 to 14 touchdown interception ratio. But the talent that he has, I could see those numbers improving this year. And his brother's one of his top receivers as well. That's a cool story. Conley hasn't had a winning record in longer than you'd think. And I just remember, in the 2010s, like they were just a shoo-in to be, like a 8-9 win team every year. But the last time they had a winning record was during that COVID season in the spring. I'm with you, Laieke. I think that changes this year. I think they get back into the winning record side of things. Zach, where are you at with Conley?
I'm bullish on Conley as well. I agree with you guys. I think having Cabell, they haven't had like that one like standout athlete in the football program probably since Isaiah Crumpler left. It felt like the last couple years they were searching for that a little bit. I guess it's been 2 years. But last year they really didn't have that guy, and I feel like Cabell is ready to take that next step and emerge for them. I've heard good things. I didn't get to see them in that Tarboro scrimmage. I think they had another one that got rained out, but they opened with Laney. It's a good test, and they lost a close game on the road in Wilmington last year to open the season to the Bucks. So I am high on Cabell, and I think even though they're being picked third in this league, like I think it's pretty close. I think it's pretty close with Rose. Another one-score game last year when those two played, and I do think we'll hear from them. I'll be curious to see what they look like on the defensive side of the ball. I feel like I've heard a lot of good things about the offense. I haven't heard much good or bad about the defense. So that's one thing I'll be interested to see when they play Laney to open their year Friday night.
New Bern's quarterback Terrence McCormick was a all-region player for us last year. He completed 66% of his passes for 2,300 yards, 28 touchdowns, 10 receptions. Also a good dual-threat quarterback. He rushed for 618 yards and 6 touchdowns. Expecting big numbers out of him. I don't know. I get the side between New Bern and Rose. I think I'll probably lean New Bern. I know that Rose, did. I think Jaden Lovett was a huge part of what Rose did last year. And it's going to be hard to imagine they're going to have someone that can just replicate that until you see it. So that's what I'm going to go with right now is New Bern. As far as the rest of the teams in the league, do we have any other notes on these guys? I know that Jacksonville lost a huge senior class. White Oak, they've had a nice run of running backs, but I don't know what the running back situation is this year. And South Central, they have a new coach this year.
Yeah, I can just start. The other thing with Rose I want to say is Quinn McCaffrey's gone too. Playing up at Lafayette in Pennsylvania now. So it is 2 guys that they have to replace. I do feel like Jimmy Martin is a good enough quarterback that he can elevate some of those younger guys that they're hoping to bring up, and we'll see kind of what it looks like at receiver for them. Jacksonville, they do like the returning production is not there. Damon June is running the ball for Coach Belichick at Carolina now, and Amari Dorsey's gone as well. I do trust Bo Williams to figure it out with new guys, even if they are a younger team, and I believe they have a sophomore quarterback, if I'm not mistaken. So it will look a lot different, but I wouldn't be surprised if later in the year, if they're playing a lot better, if Bo kind of has them where they need to be. South Central was not able to get a scrimmage in due to weather. We had pretty atrocious weather last week here, Joel. I want to say, maybe 2. There was a jamboree at Southside I went to and one at Farmville Central, and they were the only ones that were really able to get anything in as far as scrimmaging against other teams. So South Central is one that I think, that's a tough impact on them. They got a really interesting matchup week 1. I'm actually doing a story on it for WNCT today. So Ryan Bowie is their new head coach. Tyler Bowie, his brother, is the defensive coordinator at Kinston. Corey, another brother, is at South Central with Ryan as a receivers coach. So you got 2 brothers for South Central going up against their defensive coordinator, baby bro, with Kinston. Okay. So it's a real family affair. Ryan was also a former Kinston assistant, so it's an interesting opener. I know we'll talk about Kinston in a sec, but just wanted to mention that with South Central. And then White Oak, like we mentioned, we trade, this conference, they trade a pass-happy Havelock for a run-happy White Oak. So not only are you swapping out teams, but couldn't be 2 more different styles either.
Yeah, that's a good point as well. I didn't realize there were 3 Bowies. I knew there were 2. I didn't realize there were 3.
Pretty wild.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Laieke, do you have any other final thoughts on this conference?
I want to say Zach nailed it on the head with everything he said. I would say I'd give another player I would watch out for this season is Justin Blow, 6'5" athlete. He plays both sides of the ball for South. I think he could have a big season over there. And also Clavana Conde, CJ, is a leading rusher for them last year's returning. I would also say, in Conley's case, their non-conference schedule is quietly kind of tricky. It's not just with Laney; they also have to travel to Northeastern and play, in my opinion, a pretty good Aiden Griffin team that had a crazy run at the championship, and I know we'll talk about that a bit as well. But those their non-conference is challenging, but I think and also at Garner too with the Ron Donald company. The conference as a whole. I think there's some good non-con matchups that could get all of these teams prepared for what should be a tough conference slate.
Good call on Justin Blow. He was one of the area's best defensive linemen last year. He had 18 tackles for loss and 10 sacks. I also want to point out Mari Reddick from New Bern. He had 13 tackles for loss and 10 sacks last year. He's also back on their defensive line. Okay, good. We did good job on that conference. I'm excited to see how it plays out. Very excited for this one. So now we're going to shift over to the new Coastal 5A, 6A. We talked about this conference a bit with Chris Miller on the 910 video, but we still have to talk about Croatan, Havelock, and West Carteret. Obviously, Havelock is the clear favorite in this conference. As soon as this one came out, everyone's just like, yeah, Havelock's winning that league. Unless you guys disagree somehow. If you want to have a big disagreement with me here. No disagreement?
It's Havelock's. It's Havelock's league to lose. And the only, if you wanted to talk about threats, I think West Carteret, just with their passing game they have with Tanner Payne, would be the one. But this is still Havelock's league, even with the guys that they have to replace. Obviously, you lose just a huge chunk of the offense. Johnny Williams is at ECU, Ron Sharp at NC Central, and Jaden Lovett playing at the next level as well. Jaden Hewitt, sorry. Beg your pardon. Still on Rose. I can't get off to Big Carolina, and they can't. and it's just so weird that they're not in a conference with New Bern. They do play them. They play West Craven. They play Tarboro, all in the non-conference. So we're going to find out very quickly. This is going to sound bad, but they're kind of like a Gonzaga basketball type deal now, where they used to have the conference used to be the tough test. I think they're really tested in the first 5 weeks, and then after that, in conference, it'll kind of dip a little bit. A couple teams will be decent, but then it's just ramping up for the playoffs, where it'll obviously get tough.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because it's hard as a high school coach. I've heard a lot of coaches at good programs and not so good conferences say this. It's hard to keep kids engaged during conference season if they know they're just going to win every game by 30. And then, so like, how do you keep them focused during the week? How do you keep them striving to get better? Because it's important to keep improving before the playoffs come around. So that's an interesting point on Havelock in this league. And I do hear you on West Carteret. Last year I kind of wrote West Carteret off when Jalen Hewitt went to Havelock from West Carteret. But Tanner Payne came in. He's now an Elon commit. He's another big quarterback. He threw for 32 touchdowns last year, 17 interceptions, 2,800 yards. So he'll have another big senior season. Laieke, do you think we're on the same wavelength here?
I agree on all fronts. It would be hard to pick against the pedigree of Havelock. While very young offensively, they return a lot of key players on defense, mainly the James Madison commit. Christopher Bispham is one of the best defensive players in the East. Zyking Patillo as well, a defensive back, and Kamani Nolan. They're also key parts of this team. I would also say, as a future prospect to watch out for, they have a rising freshman, Lloyd Jones, who could be really talented for them. And also,
what position?
I think they have him as safety.
Okay.
And of course, Jaden Howard too is also back. He'll be a key piece of the front game. I watched Havelock scrimmage Kinston a couple weeks ago. They were a little more run offense. Both teams don't get scored. But I think Havelock still forced to be reckoned with. I think have a how well obviously.
Bispham last year for Havelock had 39 tackles for loss, 14 sacks, 3 forced fumbles. He is a monster on that defensive line. Zyking Patillo, who, like I mentioned, had 6 interceptions last year, 9 pass breakups. So I think the general consensus on Havelock this year is like the defense is going to be very, very good. It's just a matter of figuring out that offense. So I understand that they're doing something way different offense than they used to do. So I can't wait to see the results of that. Any notes on Croatan?
I expect them to be good again. I don't have anything too crazy. I know they opened with East Carteret, so rivalry game right off the bat for Croatan and Coach Andrew Gurley. So I expect them to be good. I feel like they're another team that will get in the playoffs and can make some noise. And the other thing I wanted to mention with Havelock is just Howard last year had to fill in a few games for LeBron Sharp at running back and filled in capably. So I do think that he's like a guy who's ready to take that next step. With Croatan, yeah, they were picked. I want to say they were picked 3rd in this league, and they're one of the teams that has continuity in a conference that has had some changing coaches as well, and teams coming in. Gurley's done a nice job, and I just feel like having White Oak out of this league does make it a little more open for teams, kind of after Havelock, and I expect Croatan to be right up at the top there.
Okay.
We're
gonna flip. Go ahead.
I was gonna add player to watch for Croatan is Cannon McBride. Cannon is a do-it-all athlete, not just for football, for the school. Really, he led the soccer team in goals scored, if I'm correct. He was their kicker last year. He should be starting the quarterback for the football team this year, and is the basketball team's leading scorer. He just does everything for the athletics program there.
Right.
He'll have. I think he'll have a big say in how well Croatan does this season.
Okay.
They start East Carteret, Topsail, Southwest Onslow, Washington, non-conference.
Okay, good note. We're going to flip over to the Big East 5A, 6A. So this one is kind of a combination of Wilson County and Nash County. Is also CB Aycock is in this conference as well. Interesting collection here. So Wayne County's in it. Interesting collection. So Northern Nash is the only 6A in this conference. I know there was like a protest over Northern Nash being in this conference. It didn't amount to anything, so they're still in it. But the 5As are Aycock, Fike, Hunt, Rocky Mount, Southern Nash, and Southern Wayne. Guys, this is the kind of league where every year it could end up multiple different ways. I think there are 3 teams that I would not be shocked to see win this conference between Northern Nash, Southern Nash, and Rocky Mount. But where are you guys leaning for this one?
Interesting league. Strika, you go first.
I would say it's between Northern and Southern Nash, and it always seems to be between them. And of course, no surprise, they play the last game of the regular season. It could probably be for the conference title, but I will say that across the board, I do think a lot of teams will have their say. Aycock was very successful in their previous conference, although they graduated a great 25 class. Pike's got some young pieces that could go. But I'm very 50-50 on Northern and Southern as my prediction. I cannot definitively pick one right away. But both of those teams have some fantastic players. I know Northern Nash has got stud receiver Cam Freeman that's really good. 2027.
Yeah, Cam Eatman. Sorry, what was his name? Eatman.
Cam Freeman.
Sorry. Cam Freeman, I talked to him at the ECU 7-on-7. Like, this dude is huge. He said he's 6'5", but, I mean, he's, like, towering over me. And you see why those offers are coming through with that kind of body type and what he can do athletically getting the ball. So, curious to see him in his junior year. I believe it's going to be his junior year this year. Miles Eatman, that's what I was getting confused with. So, Miles Eatman, the running back, he had 1,200 yards last year, 15 touchdowns. He was a sophomore last year, and he came over from Wilson Prep. So he's just getting used to kind of the bigger style of football. This year, I expect Miles Eatman probably in the 1,500 yard range now that he's kind of used to this level of football and bigger and stronger. But Southern Nash, their running back, Jaden Hartsfield, he's also back. He's another 1,000-yard rusher, 17 touchdowns. So yeah, both of these teams have these weapons coming back on their offenses, and I think it'll honestly probably come down to the trench play. Whoever has a stronger trench play between these two teams, because they have equal talent in terms of the guys carrying the ball.
He did, Hartsfield had that production with Tyleek Mitchell also in the backfield.
Right.
I only expect his numbers to go up this season.
Yeah. Good point.
Player for them as well.
Faulkner, the linebacker, and he plays fullback as well. He's been good for a while, and I guess he's finally a senior this year. So the coaches around there are probably getting tired of him. But one more year for him to kind of annoy the rest of the county there with his good play. Zach, any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I will admit, before coaches and fans from this conference watch this, it's probably the league I know the least about. It's also pretty wide open, but there's a lot of carryover, at least week one, with teams in our viewing area. Northern Nash plays Rose, Rocky Mount plays Tarboro, Southern Wayne plays James Keenan. So there's a lot of crossover. Just to start the year, Hunt plays Tarboro later in the non-conference.
Next week,
I've heard Rocky Mount is almost everybody back. I know Southern Nash. I'm pretty sure Tyleek Mitchell missed the playoff game against Rose last year. I'm not mistaken. I know they had some guys out for that playoff game when Rose went in there and upset them. I'm sure all of Nash County is pissed at Rose. I mean, they came
Well, the same thing happened for Northern Nash too.
Yep. Yeah. So I
They
mean,
also
they did.
running back out.
Rose did the little two-step in the playoffs. At least that's what I called it. So I would say, like, just looking at this league, I would say Northern would be my pick to win it preseason. It's a bit of an uneducated guess, so take with that what you will. If you want to put it on bulletin boards, coaches, go ahead. But I'll say Northern probably my pick to win it. But I have heard good things about Rocky Mount. Obviously, get tested by Tarboro right off the bat. We'll see how they're looking now.
Yeah, so the Rocky Mount thing is outside of Isaiah Silver, who had 850 rushing yards and 14 touchdowns last year. The rest of that running back room is back, including 3 guys that rushed for over 600 yards. So I know people might think, Isaiah Silver's gone. It's going to be a little bit different. But if you have 3 guys back that kind of production, still coming back, that's going to be very threatening. And any of those guys can get the ball any given play. So their offense, Rocky Mount's going to be a lot of games where like the clock is just running and running and running, and the game's going to be over maybe by like 9, just because they're so run heavy. Laieke, do you have any Rocky Mount points?
They pretty much nailed it. They always open the season with Tarboro, and I know, if I'm correct, a couple of years back, Rocky Mount might be the last team that shut Tarboro out, and that was a few years back. But since then, Tarboro's kind of had the upper hand in that matchup. I do think for a week 1 game should be pretty competitive, and Rocky Mount will be a tough team to beat just off of possession game and
and we're also talking about I think 9 or 10 starters back in that defense as well. Yep. So they're
tough as well. They also got to play Nash Central, who's underratedly been very good the last couple of years, and Vance County away as well. So that's in East Wake. So that should be a good start for Rocky Mount.
It's not easy.
Yeah. A couple notes on these other teams. I know CBA Cox technically are 919 area, but they lost a lot of players to Wilson Prep. Hunt and Fike are still kind of in rebuilding mode. Fike under year 2 under Rocky Lewis. Hunt picked up a player from Wilson Prep named Julian Newkirk as a defensive lineman. Hunt's defense has generally been pretty strong. I just don't think they're going to have enough to contend with these 3 schools from Nash County. If we have any other thoughts in this conference, we'll move on.
Fike also picked up Sam Finch from Bedingfield, I believe.
Yes, that's right. Yes, quarterback.
I'd say another player to watch for them is Braylon Lofton, a wide receiver, defensive back.
Yeah, he was a freshman last year and made a lot of big plays.
Braylon has a big season for year 2. He's really good.
He does it both ways, I believe, as well. That freshman to sophomore jump could be major for guys like that. So this could be a guy where he could work himself into maybe an all-state conversation. That's a good call by you, Laieke. We're gonna flip over to the Three Rivers 4A, which is this one's kind of another mismatch kind of deal. So we have Eastern Wayne, North Johnson. Zach was kind of referencing this earlier. Getting tossed in with North Lenore, North Pitt, Southwest Edgecombe, Washington, and West Craven. So it's the only 4A only conference in the state. We also have, so it's a tough one to talk about because we haven't seen a lot of these matchups happen. Eastern Wayne had one of their best seasons in a while last year, and that team returns, I believe, around 17 starters from that team that won 10 games last year. So to me, like my mind goes into their direction, but I also think West Craven is a serious threat to win this conference as well with DJ Davis back. He's another premier dual threat quarterback. Laieke, Zach, what are you thinking on this one?
Strika, you go first.
Honestly, it could go a number of ways. Also, I think Southwest Edgecombe could potentially have their say just off of their style of play as well. I do believe that Eastern Wayne and West Craven are the top contenders, although also, even though North Pitt has to replace a couple of key players, they have a lot of good players returning, especially on the offensive line. But I would say after watching West Craven defensively, they're going to be very good. And I think DJ Davis will have a lot to say on that
Mhm.
end as well at safety.
Mhm.
He really just does it all for that program. Of course, I think Zach mentioned that they should be playing Havelock first, uh, but Eastern Wayne obviously 919 team, but also very talented group. Uh, I would say Washington's also a team that has a lot of good pieces back. Anderson Thomas and Jaron Payne specifically. I think Jaron Payne
Mhm.
just picked up a couple of D2 offers recently. Uh, but it makes for a good conference slate, and you know with West Craven, Washington, Southwest Edge, and North Pitt, like
Yeah.
you know those games are going to get crazy, go down to the wire.
Yeah. So Washington hired Brian Pascal, who's kind
Yeah.
of a well-known coach in that area this offseason. I was surprised to see the other coach go back to Conley. I think they were making good progress under him. Uh, my note on North Pitt is they're starting a freshman quarterback named Bryce Cox this year. I've heard pretty good things about him, so fascinating to see that. Zach, what are your thoughts on this league?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about Pascal because I think I got to go to this conference's media day.
Mhm.
He's certainly a character to talk to.
Yeah,
He was at Washington in the late '90s, early 2000s. He was at Conley for a little
only for a
bit,
while. Yeah.
all as head coach, and he's a fascinating personality. Washington is kind of the most, like how quickly can they put it together and be an X factor slash chaos creator in this league. West Craven was the preseason pick to win it, followed by Eastern Wayne, which I think even Eastern Wayne was a little surprised by the amount of respect they got, just being new to this league where it's 4 holdovers from the old Eastern Plains 2A
Right.
conference, and then you got 3 new guys with North Johnson, Eastern Wayne, and North Lenore. So it's a pretty interesting league. Coming into the year, I have the most confidence in West Craven. It wouldn't shock me if they go down to Havelock. We take this on a Thursday. If they go down Friday and really give the Rams a game, a young Rams team, like we mentioned when we were talking about that conference. The question to me is at receiver. How can they do replacing a couple of the key losses they had with Lancaster, and I know they have Cuthbertson back. But DJ Davis, probably one of the more under talked about guys, who's really a great athlete and a great quarterback in this part of the state. So West Craven, yeah, like we said, they got the cross county games early, so we'll find out pretty quickly here how good they can be. Southwest not getting talked about enough for how good I believe they can be. That was a weirdly down year last year for them, and kind of something I attribute to the one-score chaos nature that the Eastern Plains had just from top to bottom. North Pitt will be really interesting. Like you said, with the freshman quarterback, you never know what you're going to get. They play Martin County off the bat in a game that I could see going any different way with the new coach up in Williamston. So those are kind of the teams that some of the things I'm most interested by. North Lenore was picked last in this conference. Larry Dale said that's fine. We were also picked last in last year's conference back when they were in the East Central, and they got a win over Wallace and caused some chaos in that league as well.
That was wild.
They had a chance to finish. They had a chance to finish second in that league, like right at the end of the year. So I think they'll be heard from too.
Okay. Do we have any names for Southwest Edgecombe? Honestly, in the past few years, I haven't done a good job just covering them. I don't know the new coach, and their max prep stuff is very inconsistent. Do we have any names from that school, Southwest Edgecombe?
DJ Mayo, that's their go-to guy quarterback. He's actually I know Southwest is a mainly run attack, but he can throw when he gets the chance, and he's also very athletic too. He can get yards with his legs as well. That would be a player to watch for them.
I got one more. I got Quay Darden. They listed at 6'5", 244, senior defensive end. And I was trying to look up his name because I'm like, I remember seeing him, and I'm like, who is this guy? So I'm fascinated to see him with this offense. I know they like to run the ball for sure with DJ Mayo, but 6'5", 244, you can't really coach height and size like that. So I want to see him play this year.
I also want to add for West Craven, they did pick up a key transfer. Michael Wilson, who transferred from South Central to West Craven, will be a big part of the return game and the defense. Actually, he'll play in all 3 phases, but he He was a big part of South Central's team last year, and he had the tying touchdown against North Pitt off the punt return in week 2 or week 1, early last season. So that is a big pickup for Wes Craven.
Did you say Michael or Micah?
Yeah, Michael Wilson, yes.
So I would figure that Michael Wilson is going to be involved with that new passing attack.
Yes.
That Wes Craven.
Well, and Keshawn Cuthbertson will be probably the go-to guy at wideout for them as well.
Okay, gotcha.
Jeremiah Lee is another one to look out for receiver-wise. He had a few touchdowns last year. Always running his dad shooting games. I know he's a senior now, so they're expecting him to be one of those guys to step into receiver for Wes Craven.
Wes Craven opens with Havelock, Wilson Prep, New Bern, and Farmville Central. That is their first quarter.
That's a pretty good stretch of non-conference games. I'm not sure
what
Wayne is doing non-conference-wise, but I'm inclined to say that that's probably going to be a tougher slate than what Eastern Wayne has. So that could be the difference maker. I mean, if Wes Craven is more tested coming into it.
Goldsboro, Aycock, and Middle Creek.
Yeah. Middle Creek will be a good one for them, but Wes Craven definitely has the edge on the non-conference schedule.
We did talk off there about whether conference titles matter anymore. For what it's worth, it is Wes Craven in Goldsboro playing Eastern Wayne on Halloween night regular season finale. So
yes, that's what I was going to bring up. So the teams that we think are so the two teams we're thinking are most likely win the conference are playing in the last week of the season. Just kind of how it happens sometimes. So yeah, I mean the other thing is we don't know like what can happen between now and October 31st. There could be injuries. There could be other things that happen. There could be transfers for all we know. Mid-season we saw that last year. So we might not know. We might not have a good idea of who's going to be the favorite until the very end of this one. But that's going to make it fun this fall. Any other final thoughts on the Three Rivers 4A conference?
I think any of Southwest, West Craven, and Eastern Wayne could win it. I think the other.
So you're really big on Southwest.
Bigger than most. I think they're being slept on a little bit, and kind of like Rose got unlucky in one-score games in a way that I think could flip for them this year.
Okay.
North Pitt will have their say in a lot of these games too. Still, even with Famous Wilson graduating and replacing him with Bryce Cox, freshman, like Ethan Wilson's still there, Braylon Wilson's still there, Zayden Maldonado, Jerron Clemens was a big part of their run game as well. So they have athletes to match with a lot of these programs, and I think if they can get good quarterback play, they're going to be a dangerous team. I think.
The question, it's not a question to me. Like I know CJ will have them ready to play. It's will those guys be up to it? Just because they are like they're like old at some positions and really young at other ones. And they go Martin County, Aiden Grifton, South Central, Green Central in non-con. So also another non-con. I don't good
teams. And then West Craven to open their conference slate. So that's their first 5.
I mean, it's tough.
I know you said Martin County's kind of a toss-up, but like I expect Martin County to probably win that game. So this is it's a tough start for them, especially. I mean, you're throwing a freshman quarterback against Martin County, Aiden Grifton, and all these teams. That's gonna be. We're gonna learn a lot about him early on. That's for sure.
No question.
All right, so we are going to move on from the Three Rivers 4A to the new Northeastern Coastal 3A, 4A, 5A. So this used to be the Northeastern Coastal 2A, 3A. Now it's a 3A, 4A, 5A. It's kind of a weird one. We have Currituck as the only 5A school in this conference. First Flight's the only 4A school. And then we have 4 3A schools, which is Pasquotank County, Northeastern, Hereford County. And then the one that's kind of the odd man in this one, guys, is Martin County. They are not happy about being in this league. It's going to be a big travel for them. They have to travel significantly for every single conference opponent. There's not a single close school to them in this conference. Obviously, Northeastern's coming off the 2A state runner-up season. There was some big senior talent on that team. I think of the receivers. I think of the quarterback, Trey Jones. I think of some of the linemen. But they are very, very confident. They weren't happy with me when I picked James Keenan to come out of the 3A East. They think that they're going to be right back in a state championship game. What's your impression of Northeastern Laieke?
Well, Northeastern has been one of the most consistent programs in the East for more than a decade, I can say.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
And Antonio Moore's helm there, he has been nothing but consistent, and they should feel like every year we expect to be playing for a state championship, and this year's no different. Even with what they did graduate, which they did lose some great players. Tavares Jones just mentioned, Kyle Saunders graduated as well, but they return a lot of key players. This is one of the conferences I can definitively say that they are the favorite. You're gonna have to go through Northeastern to win the conference. If you're any of the other 5 teams, they should have those expectations. But even though they lost a few, they had a quarterback waiting behind Trey Jones that was good enough to start, Zach Ishman, and I think with him being a full-time guy, I think their offense is going to keep on rolling.
The big player on this Northeastern team, literally and figuratively, is Mekhi Williams, who's a 6'5", 685-pound junior lineman who started to pick up a lot of offers for his play last year. So he's going to be a force. There's not many players like him in the 3A East, frankly. So that's going to be a big kind of card they had to play. You mentioned Zach Ishman. So there were some people that thought that Zach Ishman would work his way into the starting lineup at some point, but Trey Jones he never lost his grip on the job. Like Trey Jones is just so good. So this is kind of one of the situations where there's the quarterback changeover, but I don't think it's going to be that much of a difference. The thing that kind of worries me is the weapons around him. So it's all the receivers. I know Uzziah Harney is the one receiver back, but I think there were 4 guys ahead of him maybe in the stats last year. The one thing I do want to mention is the running back. So Damari McNeil, he a big running back. He's 6'2", 620 pounds, or 620, it's 220 pounds. I don't know where I got 600 from, but he missed a lot of last season with an injury, and now he's back for his junior year. They're going to lean on him a lot as they kind of figure out the receiver core, I guess. Zach, I know this conference is kind of outside your area, but I know you probably know about Martin County. So what's your thoughts on Martin being included in this one?
Yeah, I'll use my time in this conference to talk about just how inconsistent it was with some of the appeal decisions that my boys in Williamston did not get things to fall their way. Even in the East, like we talked about Swansboro, like they made similar arguments about travel and the issues that they would have going to Greenville every 3rd day if they had been in the Big Carolina. And Martin County basically is the same thing, just going to the Outer Banks for all these conference games. So I think they got pretty unfairly placed. I think they should have been put in a conference a little more geographically advantageous, whether that had been the Three Rivers or the new EPC. But that's the breaks. John Wheeler comes in, new coach. Obviously, Hunter Jenks is now at Wake Forest. So and I talked to Coach Wheeler, and he seems like someone who certainly knows his stuff, and they will be, like we talked about that North Pitt opener, obviously. But I just can't get over the fact that they got screwed in the way they did. I do think, and we kind of mentioned it, the conference I still think goes through Northeastern. I'm really curious to see week 2 at Conley, what they look like. That's the real measuring stick for me. I definitely think they can run it back. They're not running it back in the same class, obviously, but I do think that Northeastern can be right in the mix. 3A Eastern Finals. They are 3A, right? I'm pretty sure
they are 3A.
So
and it is worth noting that the team they lost in the state championship, Monroe, is 5A this year. So that kind of tells you the difference in school size that they were going up against in 2A last year. Perhaps if we had more active realignment, maybe every 2 years, perhaps Northeastern would not have played Monroe last year. Perhaps it would have been someone like Brevard, and maybe they would have had a better shot at winning that game. Right. But it's one of the things we'll just never know. I do have one player from Pasquotank County Jayon Harris, who plays running back and defensive back for them, he had almost 1,000 yards rushing last year, 12 touchdowns, pretty good receiver as well. As a defensive back, he was pretty good as well. He had 50 tackles, a couple of picks, one he returned for a touchdown. So he's my note for Pasquotank County, Jayon Harris. As long as he hasn't transferred to Northeastern, that I'm not aware of. But as long as he's at Pasquotank, he's got another big season there. Is there any reality in which Martin County can beat Northeastern? I know you said that Northeastern is the prohibitive, but can you see a scenario in which it happens?
I'm confident in Northeastern. It's not to say to write off Martin County, who's very talented across the board and still very young. Remember, like they still have primarily sophomores and juniors in a lot of key positions. Pete Moore at quarterback now is the full-time starter with Jason Shepard transferred to Monroe. He is going to be a very key piece. Jordan Mathewson as well, defensively, starting to get a lot of D1 interest. Qua Bass Knight at wideout. Mm-hmm. Josh Shepard tore it up in the run game last season for them. So Anthony Killebrew, wide receiver. Like they're going to be very talented. I still do think it goes through Northeastern. Okay. Or my opinion is not the write off Martin at all. I think that'll be their closest challenger for sure.
So to me, I could see Currituck being the team that ends up second in this league over Martin County. A lot of the coaches in this area will tell you up and down about how talented Currituck is, roster wise, and they're so big and they're such a big school. But I mean, they've been bigger than all the schools they've been playing for forever, and they still haven't taken advantage of it fully. To me, that's my thing with them. They are going to miss Devin Duke, who was the quarterback last year. His brother Damon Duke graduated the year before. Those two were very good for them. But I want to mention this. They did have a freshman running back last year who caught my eye. Caden Smith rushed for about 600 yards, 4 touchdowns as a freshman. So that's a player that is returning that I think could have a kind of a breakout improvement sophomore year.
They also replaced with a new quarterback, Jamie Dance. The basketball standout is starting a quarterback for Currituck.
Okay.
Also, watch out for Tristan Peterson, a really good athlete, 6'1", 180, and Luca Britt at running back as well. I think he plays running back and linebacker a little bit as well. Those will be some of their key players.
Okay.
Currituck's going to be solid, I do think.
They're going to be solid, but in terms of beating Northeastern, I just don't see it.
No.
It could happen. I mean, I just don't see it. They're going to finish top 3 for sure. I think this is more of a Martin County versus Currituck discussion for number 2. Frankly,
I also want to say Pasquotank, the program has really improved. I know they won 5 games last year, and I'm sure, and 4 conference games. In that conference, I do think that they could be in line for a win.
Yeah.
They could get through the early portion of their non-conference slate unscathed. Although Edenton traditionally has always been very good. Gates County they were solid for the last couple of years. Perquimans has been solid as well, and then Roanoke Rapids and Camden. So it's those are games that they got to get if they want to get over the hump and finish above 500. But I think P-Tech has improved a lot.
Yeah, I think it could happen. I mean, even a player like Jayon Harris, I mean, that kind of levels things, right? If you have a star player, that can be the thing that gets your entire program up to the level of the teams you're playing in non-conference. So I think we got covered the Northeastern Coastal. I do want to shift over to the Eastern Plains 2A, 3A. Guys, this one is so excited for this one. So it's kind of like the old Eastern Plains 2A conference, except for adding in Kinston and Tarboro, which is just wild to me. So it's Tarboro in 2A, Aden-Grifton, Beddingfield, Farmville Central, Green Central, and Kinston in 3A. I think we're all probably going to lean Tarboro as the favorite here. But generally speaking, this is by far more competitive conference than Tarboro has been dealing with. How interested are you guys to see them against this slate of teams throughout the whole year?
It's another case where Tarboro and Kinston, like we mentioned in one of the other leagues, Tarboro and Kinston play Halloween night. and it won't matter because the conference title is only a bragging rights thing now.
Right.
They were picked 1 and 2 in the preseason poll, and I think they're pretty clearly 1 and 2 in this league. It's funny because they couldn't be two more different styles. I've been impressed with what I've seen from Kinston so far. Watched them at the Rose 7-on-7. I think the passing attack is legit. They do bring in a transfer from Spring Creek, who's a Marshall commit, who I'm sure we'll talk about. And I just think this Kinston team is really talented. Obviously, with Tyree Copper, the NC State commit, ECU did not offer him, which was surprised a lot of people in the East, to be honest with you, Joel. His dad Terrence played at ECU and then went on to play in the National Football League. So that's something that's been a motivational thing. Brendan Chambers is the name of the receiver that I'm referring to, the Marshall commit. So if it mattered, I would say the league title will come down to Halloween night. Obviously, even if it was still in the old math for creating the playoffs, Tarborough's a 2A and Kinston's a 3A. But I think those two pretty clearly the two best in this league. And then it's going to be a dogfight between EG, Farmville, and Green Central behind them. All things to like about all three teams. Bettingfield does bring in a former Tarboro assistant to run things now, so that'll be a fun matchup when they do play later in the year. But they're, it's going to be a year or two for them. I think it's a real battle between those three teams right behind Tarboro and then Kinston.
Cameron McDowell-Moore committed to Elon yesterday. We're recording this on Thursday. Obviously, we know all about him. He's been doing this for 3 years there at Tarboro. 1,600 yards last year, 21 touchdowns. Really good defender as well. So he might have an argument for the overall best player in 252. I know Tyree Copper is probably the other one, and Christopher Bispham. Those are probably the three names I think of most for this whole region. Guys, do you see? The Tarboro thing's so tough because they were so good last year, and most of their top players were juniors. But do you see kind of an area where you'd like to see them improve this year? I know that's like a crazy question, but is there anything that kind of comes to mind for that?
I think if they can shore up the pass defense, I do believe that it's going to be hard to beat them again. I mean, it's already going to be tough to beat them just off of their style of play, controlling time possession, and try and run the clock down and score. I'm sure they're going to try to score quickly as well. Like they just Tarboro just controls the pace and play very well on offense, which is why they're always been hard to beat. But of note, if I'm correct, Kinston is the last team that beat them in the conference in 2011. I want that makes for an interesting fight. Halloween Eve. But I don't want to write off any of the other teams in the conference. I've watched Green Central play in also at Havelock. They played White Oak. DeJuan Cobb and company, the run game, Josh Sednar, like they're going to be very, very tough, in my opinion. Duke Wilson, head coach Jay Wilson, a very good player as well. Farmville Central, they'll have BJ Gardner starting quarterback as well. Ron Cook will have those guys ready to play. Wes Harrell will be another player for them. I want to say Aiden Grifton returns EJ Ruffin. So I mean, they're good players in this league across the board. It's just with kind of people will probably write them off how that Tarboro's in the conference and has a very good repertoire of weapons on their offense as well. I do think I'm not going to say these conference games.
I'll just say that when I say those three schools are a step behind, I see Tarboro as a 2A state title contender. I see Kinston as a 3A state title contender. I think it could be Tarboro, North Duplin, and Kinston Northeastern in the Eastern Finals. So those three teams, when you talk about Aiden, GC, and Farmville, they're all teams I could see in round 3 and round 4, having great seasons. And that's even with new head coach Garrett Wingate at Aiden Grifton. They're all three are great teams that just you have two, like, I think bona fide, legitimate, like, could be at Carter Finley and Keenan and wherever the heck else they're going to be hosting state championships. They got 8 of them now. Like, those are 2 teams that I expect to be there in December. And it wouldn't surprise me if one of those 3 is, right there with them, only a round behind. But, it's not that I'm discounting those 3. It's that I think so highly of those 2.
And Wingate's got a lot of pedigree himself. As a coordinator, he was part of that Rose team that went to states in, was it 2020 COVID season? Was that year? And then
and the Northern Nash team after that.
2022, I want to say.
Yep.
So though he was coordinator for, and those offenses were very good. I remember those were some of the best offenses I've covered since I started doing this. So, like, it's Wingate's gonna do a good job there. I'm very confident that he will. And remember, Paul Cornwell came back to a team that was struggling, brought them back to where they had been with all those previous years when he led them to, what was it, like 20 consecutive playoff appearances, all that.
Yeah, right.
And Cornwell left the program in the right place, and Aiden Grifton could not have hired a better guy to take his place. So I think that's going to be, I think Garrett will do a great job there.
The guy they got to replace at AG is Jack Ewell, who's now at Lawford, and he was just a two-way guy, and he would wreck games. I mean, I watched him just ruin games, especially on the defensive side of the ball, but a good tight end as well, and just a good safety valve. John Fields is the new quarterback for Aiden Grifton. Good baseball player, had a big walk-off hit for them in the spring in the playoffs. So he's a knack for the clutch. See if he can do that on the football field as well. But he takes over under center for that AG offense.
A couple other guys I want to mention for Green Central is the Event Brothers. So these 2 guys, I was at the Carolina Coaches Combine thing for like the East. It was at Princeton, and these 2 guys had the best broad jump of anyone at the event. They were testing like incredibly. I know that Sam is the top returning receiver. Nick missed some games last year. He only played in 4 games last year. So those 2 guys, as seniors, those brothers, looking forward to see what they do this year. This whole conference, I mean, I can make an argument for anybody, frankly, outside betting field, which is going to take a little bit, like Zach said. But this one, week in and week out, there's going to be some classic battles in this one. The gates are going to be really good. The crowds are going to be really good. Just can't wait to see how Tarboro fares. Now they're finally going to be challenged in conference play. I'm just so excited to see it. Any other names you might have missed throughout this league that you want to point out?
I think we talked about it with Gardner already with Farmville, but I just want to bring them up again. I got to see them play Hertford. It's supposed to be a Tarboro's Jamboree last Friday. The bottom fell out of the sky, so they had to cancel that. So I just went down the road to Farmville, just curious what I'd see. They took on, they played Hertford. I think Smithfield Summer was there, and I think CBA Cock. And I was really impressed with Gardner, not just on the field, but like he's such a leader for them off of it. Ron Cook's really high on the senior class, and I think it starts with him. This is the class, we talk about Wingate at Aiden Grifton. Like Ron Cook came into Farmville, and they were not good either. And he's brought them now to where they're a consistent round 2, round 3 playoff team. So this is kind of, it's this senior group that was the freshmen, when they brought back their JV program and really started to get things back off the ground for football at Farmville. And I think they will be, BJ, if he can stay healthy, will be, a real one of the better quarterbacks in our area.
I want to bring up. I don't think it was mentioned when we talked about Tarboro's key players, but
Tyler Powell.
Was one of my
Yeah, I knew I forgot about him.
In this area, he really does everything. He's obviously as quarterback in the Tarboro team. You got to make sure like you keep the defense guessing where the ball's going to go.
Yeah. Right.
Also be able to have a timely passing player too. And he had 12 passing touchdowns, but defensively this guy's
it's crazy.
Everywhere. Like
it's crazy. How does someone have 25 sacks playing 1A football who they're playing? They're not playing passing teams.
No.
He's like 20.
Yeah,
like 28 TFLs, 25 sacks, close to, and then throws has like 15 total touchdowns on offense. Like,
yeah, it tells you just like how effective he is as a pass rusher. The fact that it happens so rarely, it's gonna happen more for them this year. But the fact that he's just like stacking guys whenever they're dropping back, it's pretty crazy. But he's quite a player.
But they do return Caden Everett as well, who will also be. I think the key is also finding that third guy in the three-headed monster. You know, like they always got three. Like finding that third guy can get you some production as well.
Yep. So Mason Satterfield was like the fullback, not offense. He was a big kind of a grinding type runner. He's graduated now. I know Zach loved Mason Satterfield. So whoever that third guy is will be important. But it's Harbor. Like they're going to find somebody to do it. I mean,
and on defense, watch out for Jamil Warren. Well, he's the offensive line and defensive line, but Jamil Warren and Kevius Bridgers as well is another key player for them.
Yeah.
I mean, Craddock feels like they can go 7-8 deep in running back as far as guys he trusts to go in a game. And Powell just got bigger. I mean, they list him at 6'2", 220. I mean, I feel like he's bigger than that, to be honest. Sorry for putting that out there, Tarboro, but like, I mean, he got bigger. I mean, he's a big dude, and yeah, they definitely have a stable of running backs. I think there will be a third guy that emerges. They got the tough non-con, and they got a tough conference schedule now, so it'll be a lot more fun. You won't see their starters getting pulled in second quarter games, and I'm just excited to see what it looks like playing. You know, it's like them and Havelock switch. Like Havelock now has the tough non-con, but they kind of rest up for a few weeks and have to ramp back up for playoffs. Like Tarboro has really not a lot of like sleeper spots, and the ones they do have, like they'll be up for betting fields. They're playing at former assistants, so I mean, they'll be ready for those games for sure.
Even if Tarboro drops a couple of games this year, they still have Havelock this year. They have a tougher conference this year. I like they are my solidly 2A state championship pick. Like that's maybe the most easy pick this year in all the classifications. Just so big on them. They're gonna be so good this year.
North Duplin's the one school in Duplin County. They said they have not played in the playoffs yet. So I think that would be. I think that it makes a lot of sense as far as the 2A Eastern Finals this year.
Yeah, I mean, it could make sense to me. I mean, we just don't know like if they're going to end up on opposite sides of the region,
right.
The brackets. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think that's a team that they'll definitely run into at some point. It's just a matter of which round it is. Yeah, I'm totally with you on that. I think that about covers this. So the new Eastern Plains 2A, 3A, again, guys, just loaded conference. A lot of these teams are going to have good years this year. Super excited for this one, and there's going to be some great crowds in this conference. I can't wait to see it. So now we're going to move on to the new Albemarle Athletic Conference. So this is the only 2A conference in the state. It has Bertie, Camden County, Gates County, Holmes, Mandio, and Perquimans County. To me, I see Holmes as the clear favorite in this conference. I picked them a while ago to win this conference. I know that they did have a couple of graduates back, but I know that they're very happy with what they have coming up. Do you guys have any other different feelings on the favorite in this conference?
It's got to be Holmes for me. And I'll admittedly say I don't know a ton about the Aces. They're like another one of those schools that's like fringe, sort of in our viewing area, sort of not. Bertie's always one school I'm always interested in. They do play Martin County again. They're bringing back the Battle for the Paddle. Of course, they play it in the middle of the dang ECU NC State football game next Thursday, so I won't be able to be there, but I will say with Bertie, I'm excited that they are bringing that rivalry back. They're bringing a trophy back in that game. So I just wanted to mention that as well. But I do feel like it's Holmes' league to lose.
I know Perquimans got mad at me when I picked Holmes to win the conference, but I mean, when you lose a quarterback like Braylon Knapp, who is throwing for 3,000 yards and 31 touchdowns, like that's just not like I understand if you're confident in your next quarterback, but that's just not easy to replace.
He also Samir Dempsey too, who was a fantastic player for them.
Yes.
Yep.
And I know that Perquimans does have probably their best receiver back in Benjamin Brown. He had 971 yards and 8 touchdowns last year. They did lose Max Thatch, but they have a couple other guys behind Thatch who are going to be serviceable. So I think they have the guys right in the receiver core. It's just a matter of whoever the new quarterback is, can he at least kind of replicate the production that Knapp had. But Perquimans, to me, just with the guys that are returning, they are I'm going to take them number 2 in this conference over Bertie. But I do think, Bertie is always going to be a threat no matter who graduates from there. Laieke, any underrated players in this conference you want to shout out?
This is actually the conference I was a little bit iffy on myself.
Okay.
I kind of I do know of note that Gates County won 8 games last year, and they went to the third round of the state playoffs, and they kind of flew under the radar because their conference last year had Martin County, Tarboro, and Paquitman, who were all very good.
Mm-hmm.
Those teams they lost in conference, so I think I'm also with you guys on picking Edenton, and honestly, I think Byron Company will do really well offensively.
Yeah.
It's hard to go against it, and just like Northeastern and Tarboro, they've also been a team that's consistently won like over the years. So it's hard to pick against a team like that.
Camden County definitely has some guys. There's always some athletes there that can kind of be leveling players. And to be honest with you, Gates County is a team I know nothing about. This is one of the teams that doesn't share information. They don't put anything on Max Preps. When I've tried to survey them in the past, I haven't gotten a survey back. So I'm just not going to comment on them. I just don't want to say either way. My thoughts on them. Any other thoughts on this conference? Or do you think we about covered it?
They were at Southside's Jamboree, and they look solid. But I do think it's, I know Camden County goes to Northside Pinetown week 1, so that's kind of right on it's kind of in our viewing area. Not sure we'll be able to get to it, but I'll be curious to see what the score is and how they fare in that one. Bertie does not leave Windsor for like a month. Like in the month of September, they are just home cooking. So we'll see if Ronald Pugh, the former ECU standout, can capitalize on that and get something going there. But like I kind of said, I think it's Holmes, and I do think they're a school that benefits from the reclassing and the new realignment system that they can really make a push in the playoffs, and the team you'll be talking about in November, December.
Yeah, I agree. They're going to be one of the teams that's playing deep in the 2A East playoffs. They had a habit of running into Tarboro before they became 2A in the last cycle, so I can see that habit kind of continuing, where they're going to bump into Tarboro some way, shape, or form in the playoffs.
Old habits die hard.
Say it again.
I said old habits die hard. And
Yeah,
I'm just
right,
glad I'm glad we have an AAC, because the American Athletic Conference is no longer. So I'm glad somebody could take the AAC mantle away from the former collegiate conference.
Yeah, that was so random. That's so random. I do want to point out a couple of guys from Holmes. I know we were talking about them, but I haven't named any names. So, so the player that they're going to miss is Nazir White. He had 1,600 yards last year. I thought he was returning at first because he was listed as a junior on Max Preps last year. Silly me to think that he'd be back for a senior season if he's a junior on Max Preps. But I know there are some players on this defense they're excited about. S.J. Farabee is a guy that I hear about a lot on their defensive line who's a big problem that they have. So, yeah, Holmes is a team that looking forward to seeing. Guys, the last conference we have is this new Eastern Carolina 1A. So this one doesn't have any football playing schools. So overall, there's Northeast Carolina Prep, North Edgecombe, Rocky Mount Prep, the new charter school in Wilson, Sally Howard, which is in association for the first time this year, Washington County, and Wilson Prep. This might be the single easiest conference in the entire state to pick the champion of. It's going to be Wilson Prep. I mean, there's no shot. These other teams have absolutely no shot. I'm just going to say it now. But I do want to kind of hear your thoughts on Wilson Prep. And this year, with them being in the 1A classification, it's kind of, for the first time, it's like a very clear avenue they have to gain the state championship, because in the past, Tarboro was obviously there in the way. Tarboro kind of throttled them last year in the 1A East final. But are you guys with me that Wilson Prep has a very good shot at finally breaking through to a state title this year?
I agree. They do have a kind of a storyline game in week 1 with their supposed best returning player, Jordan Ham, transferring to Clayton, and that's who they play first. But I know Wilson Prep played very well at the HighSchoolOT event.
Bulldog Bash. So yes, they came in. They played a 7A.
Fantastic job on both.
Thank you.
Including the one at Wake Forest too.
Yeah, so they came and played a 7A team at the Bulldog Bash, Sanderson. Clayton is a 7A team. Clayton is obviously a lot better than Sanderson, but Wilson Prep beat Sanderson 24-0 in that Bulldog Bash. They did not look like the 1A team versus the 7A team in that one.
What I've been told is that their offensive line is
it's huge.
Also,
it's huge.
And then they also have a tank, Trevon Usher, who's also, he had a great season last year, and he's poised to have another big season this year.
Trevon Usher threw for 2,000 yards last year, rushed for 1,000 yards. He's also a very good defender. He made this leaping interception against Sanderson at the Bulldog Bash, where he's falling backwards and catching it. The guy's a freak. He's a freak. He might be the single best player in the entire 1A classification, East or West, and that's saying something. Anytime you say this guy's the best player in the classification, I think it's Trevon Usher, and I think that he will power Wilson Prep, and as well as Ethan Nelson and these other guys coming back. I think he will power them potentially to a state championship victory, not only just getting there. Zach, I know a lot of these teams are kind of out of your area, but from afar, what's your impression of this Wilson Prep team?
I mean, where do they find these guys? I'm scrolling this roster now. Makai Thompson, 6'2", 340. Reginald Holmes, 6'3", 385. Where was it? Christian Perry, 6'6", 290. I mean, this is just this is a team you're like, is this real? Like a 1A school can get kids of that size? So pretty impressive. They are outside the market, technically for us, but I do when I look at their schedule. They play a lot of teams in the our counties that we cover in the non-conference. So they go to West Craven, host Green Central. They play Northeastern. I mean, you talk about beating 7A schools. How about beating a state title contender in Northeastern in the 3A level? And then they play Farmville. They play Southwest Edgecombe as well. So certainly we'll be on some of our shows, and a team to look out for. That size is just, I mean, how do you match that? That's hard to match in both trenches. Yeah, I'm kind of blown away just scrolling through some of the size that they have, and they're another team that they go to West Craven week 2, obviously Clayton week 1, like Strika mentioned, and then they do not leave home until October the 3rd. So I mean, another team that gets 4 straight home games in the non-con.
And at home, that's going to be that. I'd like to see that. And
you may see that game on a certain streaming website later this season for a certain game of the week.
I knew the plug was coming.
Yeah, I mean that's a barn burner for sure. As long as they can stay out of their own way, because every time I've seen them, they do like to pick up some flags, and they will celebrate a big play, which I have no problem with. I love it as a TV guy, but just not costing your team in those situations. That's the biggest thing. But
yeah, that's a good point, because this is the kind of team where they're so much more talented than everybody. The only way that it can go wrong is if they beat themselves, if they just do things that are counterproductive to the team. Like if you get maybe egos involved, like saying I want some of this, I want some shine on me, that kind of thing. And like you were saying, just general discipline as well. And all these guys are a year older. There's going to be mostly seniors this year. It wasn't a very senior heavy team last year, so maybe that's just some natural maturity coming as well. That's a big factor in high school football. I also want to mention Nazir Vines. He rushed for 800 yards last year and 11 touchdowns. So it's just another, between Ethan Nelson, Trevon Usher, and Nazir Vines, their backfield is it's up there with Tarborough's backfield. It really is. It's just, I think that Tarborough beat them last year with discipline and just a little more solid trench play than they had last year. Any more thoughts on this conference? I know that it's a lot of kind of mystery teams. So the Sally Howard thing, they are playing football this year. No idea how it's going to go. I mean, we've seen with Wilson Prep how fast the charter school could get good in Wilson. So maybe they will be good and surprising. Washington County, any notes on them, Laieke?
Watch out for Christian Phelps. Also stand out for their basketball team that just went to the regional championship. 1A East runner-ups. Defensive back end should be back starting at quarterback this year as well. And Monty Jones, their running back for them, could be a key piece for the Panthers.
I really hope Washington County Wilson Prep turns into a great basketball rivalry. Now they're in the same league.
Oh yeah,
that would be really fun. If they can get a few of those guys who are a part of that great basketball team on the football field. I mean, they'll be in decent shape. Obviously, I don't think anyone's winning the league besides Wilson Prep, but that's they're a team to keep an eye out for.
And I know Rocky Mount Prep has one of the longest losing streaks in the state. Definitely the longest in the 252. I know that. Hopefully they can break their streak. I don't know what their schedule looks like, but maybe they'll have a chance to do so at some point. Oh wait, actually, I don't think they might not actually.
I don't think they're playing this year.
Oh, not okay. Well,
yeah.
Well, apologies.
Yeah. So the streak.
No, it's all good. No, it's like some years they play, some years they don't. Like we don't know. So I do have a
county schedule that they play North Edgecombe twice, and one is a non-conference.
Yes. Yeah, that's what they've had to do. I think the same thing with Wilson Prep. I think they're playing North Edgecombe twice, if I remember correctly. I do want to mention, so for North Edgecombe, Saeed Murphy, he's a Tarboro alum. He does the best he can there with that, the talent they have. I mean, let's just be frank. I mean, a lot of those kids that maybe would go to North Edgecombe would maybe find their way to Tarboro somehow. And also, I mean, even Wilson Prep in the area too, where they could also go. So it's a tough situation with good programs around that team. I do want to mention Emmanuel Coley was a really, really good junior for them last year. He had 120 tackles last year. So looking forward to seeing what he does as a senior this year. Unless we have any final notes on this Eastern Carolina 1A, I think we can probably wrap it up here, unless you guys have any final notes on this conference.
I think just with Wilson Prep, it's going to be another Gonzaga basketball case where they got to lock in these first 6 weeks, and then kind of coast a little bit through October, and then have to turn it back up in November. But they're going to be, they're going to be solid. One other league I just want to mention, as well as the Coastal 1A, 2A, East Carteret and Northside. I believe.
Yeah, good call. Yes.
In that league, Southside's got a new coach, Andre Quinterly. They were picked third in that league, so that's another league I wanted to mention. East Carteret, we'll see if they can make some noise. That's a pretty much the same league. Jones comes back. They're back to 11-man football this year, and they play South Lenore week 1. Somebody's got to win that game. It'll be a really fun celebration for whoever gets that. Obviously, 2 programs that are trying to build themselves back up, and I know that game will matter. They both start 0-0, and someone's going to be 1-0. So that's their week 1.
Yeah, it's going to be a nice night for somebody. Good call. Thank you for pointing out this Coastal Plains 1A, 2A. So Northside Pinetown is the one team in the 1A East where I think could be a problem for Wilson Prep. They're very consistent over there. I know that Sincere Columbus is a guy coming back on that team who had a very good season last year. He rushed for 1,200 yards and 17 touchdowns. He'll be a senior this year, and their quarterback's also back. So I do see Northside Pinetown as the favorite in this conference, and I do think that they're the team that will give Wilson Prep the biggest issue. And before Wilson Prep, obviously, has to play probably Robbinsville in the 1A state championship. Like, any notes on the Coastal Plains 1A, 2A?
I'm also a fan of Northside's program. I do think they're the favorites. I did like East Carteret at the Havelock scrimmage as well. They actually played South Lenore in that scrimmage, 10-10 style. McIntosh kid at quarterback was through multiple touchdowns in that scrimmage, and Coach Frazier does a really good job over there. They're probably gonna be a team that has a prolific passing attack, and I think they should start with West Carteret and Croatan, right?
Okay.
They should play.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they do. I want to say East Carteret is, I believe they told me 9 starters back on offense and 8 back on defense. So definitely a lot of
Okay, jeez.
And that league has really consistently been those 2 teams the last couple of years. We'll see how Southside looks with the coaching change. So, but the East has a lot back.
And obviously, East Carteret did kind of beat Northside last year. And if they got 17 stars back from that team, they could very well do it again. So good call, Zach.
Zach brought up a conference that wasn't talked about, and I also want to talk about the Roanoke River 1A, 2A, because those are some other 252 teams that have some contenders. Yeah. I've heard a lot about Warren County and Kid Pride being 2 teams that could be very solid again this season. If I'm correct, Warren County won 10 games last year, I want to say.
Yes. And they shut out for Quimmins in the playoffs.
They They did,
And that was like one of the most like stunning results of the playoffs, just how much they handled them.
in conference play was to Wilson Brett.
Yeah.
They shut out Perquimans in blowout fashion, and I think their only other loss was to Vance County, who's also another 2-5-2 team that's really good. But I think the conference comes down to one of those two teams between Warren and Kidd.
Okay.
I think all the coaches in that league would agree, at least the 1A schools. A lot of happy coaches that they don't have to play Tarboro in the playoffs anymore. I feel like
a lot of those schools are also happy that Wilson Prep is not in their
not in the conference. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point.
I'm sure they probably won't say it out loud, but I'm very sure that those 6.
They probably would say that out loud. Let's be honest. The other thing is, Northampton County, they were so consistent until last year. Last year was just kind of like this weird, like, what the heck happened to them? So they finished 3-8. And Kip Pride, which is, for those that don't know, Kip Pride, you can throw a rock from Northampton and hit Kip Pride right across the street. Kip Pride, like, all of a sudden is having like this great year. So it makes me think, I wonder if some kids went over to Kip Pride last year. So I'm curious to see that dynamic this year. Does Northampton County get back up to what it used to be doing, where they're winning 7 games every year, or is Kip Pride taking another second step, kind of a good season here? So very fascinating to see that.
I think Kip Pride, I want to say, goes to Pamlico week 1, if I'm not mistaken.
They do.
And in that league, 4 of the in that Coastal Plains 1A, 2A, 4 of the 6 teams have new head coaches. So a lot of turnover there. Brandon Akins, year 1 at Pamlico. He comes over from Jacksonville. He was an assistant for Bill Williams for a long time. So he'll bring some of those qualities that have made that Jacksonville program great over to Pamlico and Babe Rowe as well.
Watch out for Josiah Esperance at Kid Pride. He had over 800 yards rushing last year for them. As a junior, could really go.
Okay, good poll. Thanks, guys, for bringing up these last 2 conferences I'd missed on my rundown. That's still getting used to everything. So we did get in the Coastal Plains 1A, 2A, and the Roanoke River 1A, 2A. So good calls by both of you to bring those guys up. Before we go here, any other non-conference games that we might not have mentioned here that you're really looking forward to seeing, whether it's in week 2 or week 3, 4, or 5? Is anything it's on your radar already?
I feel like I mentioned
Havelock one. I don't think we mentioned. We did.
Yeah, it's got to be. I mean,
it's really cool.
As far as games of the year, Joel, yeah, I think in the 252, that's got to be pretty high up on the list. Got to mention Northeastern and Conley. That'll be a really fun game there in September. And just all the rivalry games. I mean, there's a lot of both in Onslow County, definitely in Craven County. You're getting these games now in September where they used to be October and November. So it's a very different dynamic for some of these schools. Something you have to navigate. Like, how do you keep the kids engaged after those games? And, just really interesting the fact that, you have a lot of schools that, used to coast through the regular season and won't, and a lot that used to have to grind it out every week of the regular season and can coast through October now. So it creates some interesting dynamics, and just having 8 classes is going to create a lot more opportunity for schools to break through and go to state championship games from the 252.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring up, since we didn't talk about Vance County as much, I want to bring up that they do play Rocky Mountain and Northeastern back.
Good call. Good call. They're in our 252 area.
Yes, and Warren County week 1. Those are all very good games, along with their conference play where they'll play some good teams. They'll play, Heritage.
Yep.
Vance County is a team that's been very consistent as well, and they won 8 games last year, and I'm sure they're gonna have their say in the new conference. But they're a team with a lot of talent.
Yeah, 10 games the year before, 8 games last year. Very senior-heavy leadership, though, between Javion Vines Holder, Tayshawn Alston is going to South Carolina, Antoine Doyle at receiver. So lots of good seniors in that 2025 class. But, I do expect them to eventually contend for that in that league, the New Northern Six Conference. So good poll, Laieke, again. They're also in our 252 area. Another one I missed here on my rundown. So thank you, Laieke. Guys, unless we have any... Go ahead.
Rocky Mountain Northeastern back-to-back stuff.
Oh, yeah. Jeez, that's
back-to-back.
that'll prepare them. I mean, they're in a better conference now than they were. They were in that Northern Lakes 2A, 3A, where the only threat they had was Southern Durham. But now you're going into a league with Wake Forest and Heritage, and Nightdale and East Wake's an emerging program. So Franklinton's also an emerging program. So yeah, it's good that they're tightening it up in non-conference to get themselves ready for that. All right. Well, I think unless there's any other teams I missed, I think that covers it. Anyone else staying out to you that we might have missed? No.
Just that it's going to be chaos, and I can't wait
Yeah.
to see what it's like. New format. It's definitely re-energized for a new season with a lot of new faces and new leagues, and lots of interesting playoff matchups as well coming up down the road.
I'm with you. All right, guys. One final time, tell everyone where they can find you and find your work.
Go ahead, Strika.
Strika Lights on all social media platforms. Mainly YouTube and X and Instagram. I believe that my X should be.
Yeah, his X is on the screen there. See it? It's right there. Right there.
We go all over the place, and like I said, I can say I go all over the place and do this now, but I do have so much love for the eastern part of the state because that's where it all started. And I do think this will be another exciting football season out here.
I got to promote our WNCT. We're on TikTok now. We got an Instagram that we're starting to populate. So feel free to give us a follow there. We'll try to get some cool looking content out on the TikTok for football season and get our game recaps up there. So everyone watching can see those. And again, Touchdown Friday. Every Friday is 11:05, Channel 9 WNCT.
Awesome, guys. Well, I really appreciate both of you for coming on today. Really excited for the week one to start tomorrow. And just really thank you for your insight. And we'll probably do another follow-up like we did last year. We'll do a follow-up at some point during the season to see how wrong we were or how right we were. But we'll
be wrong a lot. So
it's hard, especially with all these new conferences. It's hard. But we will follow up, and looking forward to that, guys. And again, I appreciate it, and best of luck starting tomorrow.
Thank you, Joel.
Thank you.
Great job covering all over the place. Thank you again for having me, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.